I'm here with Fernando Mello, senior producer of Dragon Age 2, and we are looking at the very first introduction of the first DLC for Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age 2 Legacy. Now, Fernando, Dragon Age 2, as you know, got a bit of a mixed reception from the fans and the press. Do you feel like you have something to prove with Dragon Age 2 Legacy?
I wouldn't say that it's something to prove. We certainly want to listen to the feedback and show that we've been paying attention and that we want to address some of the concerns and some of the requests that people have been making. So we wanted to make sure that with Legacy we took our time. One of the reasons why it's taken so long to get our first major story-based DLC since launch. We wanted to make sure that we addressed the area reuse concern that seems to be at the top of everybody's request list. And we totally get that. We wanted to make sure that it's all new areas that you're going to go into. We have some brand new creatures as well. We've made sure that combat, it should flow a lot nicer now, both tactically in terms of how it's set up, but also just how creatures appear in combat, less of the kind of wave mechanic and sort of guys dropping from the sky, that sort of thing. Those are just some of the things that we were looking to address with it.
Could you give an example of how the combat might be more tactical in terms of fighting the creatures? One thing I did notice was, like, for example, creatures that would charge you or creatures that have certain abilities. Could you give a few more examples?
Yeah, so there's actually quite a lot more use of the environment in general. There's lots more puzzles and traps that will play a role both for yourself that you can use against your enemies, but also they'll make use of that. There's also a lot of situations where you're walking in slightly at a disadvantage. You know, it is their home turf, so there will be things like ambushes that are going to be set up, or when creatures appear, they will have a little bit of an advantage in terms of their placement, and you're going to have to figure out ways to kind of break that down.
Could you describe the environmental aspect? Because one of the things, one of the biggest criticisms of Dragon Age 2 was kind of the copy-paste dungeons, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that was definitely sort of goes back to the area reuse, etc. What I mean by that is largely there's going to be more use of traps that you can take advantage of. There's quite a lot of interesting fights. There's more vertical elements as well, where guys are kind of set up at a high point and they have an advantage, and you need to figure out, do you split your party, go after them and seek that advantage, or do you kind of try to deal with the immediate threat, perhaps a more powerful creature, while you're taking damage from that. Traps is going to be an interesting one as well, in particular with some of the mini-boss fights. There's going to be little ways to potentially use that to your advantage and gain the upper hand a lot quicker than just sort of gathering everybody and just kind of mashing the button until you defeat the enemy.
So it sounds like this is going to kind of be a lengthy, multi-stage DLC where you're making trips in and out of the freedom arches back to your house. Is that a fair characterization?
It doesn't have to be multi-stage. There is a couple of opportunities where you can get out of the DLC and come back in. But effectively, once you get a little bit into the Grey Warden prison, then you're kind of stuck there. And you can only complete the DLC from that point on. Now, there is a lot of benefits to coming back and replaying with different followers, as well as exploring some of the other areas that you might have missed first time around, including a couple of the Easter eggs. But for the most part, that's kind of the limit of it.
All right, well, we'll be looking forward to it. Thank you, Fernando. Dragon Age 2 Legacy will be out July 26th, and please look forward to it.